Blank here, and welcome to our much hinted at Scourge General Reviews episode, in which today I'm going to be taking a look at the stone. Let us begin this review by taking a look at the presentation of this Doctor Who book. So for the cover art itself, we have BBC Class, created by Patrick Ness, The Stone House, aka Benedict, with that being covered up with the Eason's only $5.99 sticker. From the time I bought this book, I believe in December or November last year. And then for the cover art itself, we have this sort of big crack of sort of time and space with sort of light shining out of it, sort of stormy rainy clouds, a stone house at the bottom there, stone derelict house, on this sort of wasteland area of grass, and these and the buildings and whatnot being distorted around it. To the right hand side of it. And for the spine we have BBC Class, The Stone House, aka Benedict, BBC Books. And then for the back of the book we have a picture of the Class team, which is sort of meant to look like them coming out of the sort of crack, I think, but you can actually see their legs and stuff below that, so it wasn't quite a good effect overall. I'm not even sure what they were attempting here. All sort of set against this sort of nice sort of dark blue space vortex like background. Along with all of that we have various text, quote from the book, and the synopsis. BBC Class, miscellaneous guff from the universe of Doctor Who, barcode FSC tree down there, science fiction $7.99. And now for the quote and synopsis. If you get out, you'd think you'd be one of the lucky ones, but you're not. The house infects you. There's an old stone house near Coal Hill School. Most people hurry past it. They've heard the stories, but if you stop and look up, you will see the face of a girl pressed up against a window, screaming. Tanya finds herself drawn to the stone house. There's a mystery there, and she's going to solve it. But the more she investigates, the more she realizes that there's a presence in the house, one that wants her. Something is waiting for Tanya in the stone house, something that has been trapping others in its web over the years, something that is worse, far worse than any ghost. And then taking a look at the interior of the book, we have the stone house with this sort of blank back, to the sort of exterior parts of the book, or the sort of cover parts of the book, which is the same on all of the other Class books that have been currently released. Joyride and What She Does Next will astound you. Class, created by Patrick Ness, Stone House, aka Benedict, BBC Books. Various copyright goof to James, Guy and Dame Margaret Rufford. And then we've got the start of the book. This is a 297 page long Doctor Who book, spread across exactly 50 chapters with no prologue or epilogue. At the very back of the book we just have the last chapter of the book, and there is no sort of clear and there's no sort of anything at the back of the book, no sort of advertisements for any other Doctor Who books or anything like that. So now, with the presentation of this Doctor Who book out of the way with, what is the general consensus and my own personal thoughts and opinions on Class, The Stone House? As for the general consensus of this book, the ratings are overall positive, with an average rating of 3.34 out of 5 on Goodreads, with a tremendous amount of 3-star and 4-star reviews, with people saying it's either pretty good or even great. Do I agree with the general consensus? Let us find out. Personally, as a person who has experienced very little of Class, and by very little I literally mean the first episode and 2 of the books, and I also know the big twist of the finale of the first series, I can already say that I have a big problem with the show as a whole, and that it does not have its own identity. To me, this spin-off just feels like a copy of the Sarah Jane Adventures, just with the age audience aim level amped a little higher. On the Doctor, the Doctor appears in the opening episode because this is the Doctor Who canon, unlike The Wedding of Sarah Jane Smith. Oh, it's some massive institute behind everything in the other novel Joyride, just like Royals of Kulak. Oh, let's have the return of a Doctor Who monster in an episode because this is the Doctor Who canon, just like Revenge of the Slitheen did. Oh, in this novel it's a big spooky house, just like Eye of the Gorgon. I'm not saying that another Sarah Jane Adventures is bad, it's just that Class is that and it's nothing fresh or original. The plots and concepts are very similar to the Sarah Jane Adventures, which is a bit disappointing considering the fact that this is a more mature spin-off, more mature tone spin-off like Torchwood. Sure, you have mature jokes in the show, such as a dildo joke in this book, but nothing really differentiates the Sarah Jane Adventures between Class. I feel that the plots could be a lot grimmer and more experimental than they are as of now with the show. Joyride got pretty close to being something else. With the Stonehouse, it didn't get as close, but it was pretty damn close. Overall, this novel is basically a mixture of various Doctor Who stories. The animated movie Monster House, the Eye of the Gorgon Sarah Jane Adventure story, on a much more paranormal and psychedelic scale, with it having oxymoronic spiders made out of nothing but bones. If you have seen that movie I just mentioned, you might expect this book to be a goofy, silly story. It is, and it isn't. It's a serious story told in a fun way for the most part. Probably the most interesting part for me personally is probably the most confusing thing I have ever stumbled across in a Doctor Who book, and that is the actual style of writing. This book jumps around between numerous character perspectives and even third person at some moments. On top of that, I think this book even changed tenses at parts. So you've literally got jumping around by like the teams of the main members of Class and a one-off character that's in this book, and it even changes perspective as well in this book, sometimes being present tense, sometimes being past tense, I think. This is one thing about the book that I really did struggle to get behind at first, but became more comfortable with the style soon enough. Overall, this is a Doctor Who book I enjoyed far more than I should have done. To me, this book appealed a lot on a personal level, as I was at one point a humongous fan of the paranormal, once having the mindset a couple years ago that the paranormal investigation show Ghost Adventures with Zach Bagans and Aaron Goodwin and Nick Groff, I think his name is, even though that's not the lineup anymore, was actually better than Doctor Who. This book also really appealed to me in the sense that it was so freaking oddball. I personally really like psychedelic writing like Paul Mars, and when I read a book with a similar writing style as his, I always enjoy it, as it is very refreshing for me personally, as through my journey of reading Doctor Who books I have not encountered that many that are just as odd as this one is and Paul Mars's writing are, or any that are just generally fun, rompy Doctor Who books that are not meant to be taken seriously. A lot of Doctor Who books I've experienced are aiming to be sort of big, kaleidoscopic science fiction epics. This, combined with the fact that I did, and still do, love the paranormal, easily equated to one of my all-time favourite Doctor Who books. In my review of Times Champion, I did give it 2 individual ratings, as I felt that that was the best way to justify that Doctor Who novel, and the very much the same applies here, as I definitely enjoyed the book way more than how good it actually is. So overall, I'm going to give this Stonehouse a 7 out of 10 in terms of actual quality, and a whopping 10 out of 10 in terms of personal enjoyment. Would I recommend this book? Well, if you're into your psychedelic and mad writing and the paranormal, then you and this book are truly a match made in heaven.